What's up everyone, welcome back to Weather Now, and in today's video we'll be taking a look at the upcoming pattern change in March and how that could bring some severe weather to the southwest and along with some wintry precipitation into the northeast. So first we're going to take a look at the 6 to 10 day precipitation probability outlook, and you can see that in the 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, you have this highlighted area in the light green and the darker green in the center here, and that is indicating the percentages for above average precipitation. And you can see we have a very strong indication that we are going to get above average precipitation here in the middle of our country and in the southwest and northeast. And then if you take a look at the 8 to 14 day, you see that it doesn't really move that much. It goes a little bit to the south and west, but other than that, it's going to stay pretty wet out here in the middle of our country, which could cause a lot of flooding and it could do damage to crops, so it's definitely something to pay attention to. And along with the precipitation, we're going to have a very above average temperatures, and you can see from the 6 to 10 day outlook, you have this dark red, which indicates very above normal temperatures. So we're going to be dealing with a big warm up in a lot of the eastern half of our country, and in the western half of our country, we're going to stay pretty normal, and I think you could be dealing with some heavy snow over in the west. But then if you take a look at the 8 to 14 day temperature probability outlook, you can see that it continues to paint that we are going to have very above average temperatures for the east. And if you take a look at the newest information here, you have the 12Z GFS model, and if you put this in motion, you're going to see that we have a bit of a storm starting to brew here in the coming days. This is March 2nd. This is being recording on March 1st. And you can see as it kind of slides to the east, it is going to bring some wintry precipitation and maybe even some snow into the mid-Atlantic, into Maryland, into Virginia, maybe into southern Delaware. And then it's kind of going to bubble up here and get carried by a piece of energy from the west that kind of connects to it. And then as this thing kind of moves northward, it might bring a little bit of wintry precipitation here into the northeast, but nothing too concerning. Maybe up to 1/10 of an inch of ice, so maybe minor impacts, but the winter precipitation won't really affect too much here. But then if you continue to move it forward, you can see that I think that we could be dealing with a line of severe thunderstorms. This is March 4th into the 5th overnight, and you can see that we have this line and band of thunderstorms. I think there can be kind of convectivity in this line of storms. It could produce hail, strong winds, maybe tornadoes, and definitely a chance for flooding. So if you live in this area, you have to pay attention, especially if you have crops. It could definitely affect the crops and just cause a lot of damage in general. And if you continue to move this forward, you see that this pattern doesn't really go away. You just get a continuous line of storms. There's another one on March 7th, and then you continue to move it forward. You have another line coming here on the 10th, and you just see that we're in a very, very active pattern. And I think around March 12th through the 16th, we could get a bit of a cold sprout down if into the middle of the country. You can see a piece of the polar vortex breaks off, and it kind of lowers that blue line down further south. That indicates that we were just going to have a little bit colder air, and maybe that could, if chances line up, we could be done with another winter storm. But for the most part, I think the upcoming pattern is going to be very active with severe weather into the southwest and very high precipitation with warm temperatures. This upcoming weekend, you can actually take a look at the temperature outlook, and you can see that we are going to be dealing with a lot of warm temperatures in the east. And if I take a look at should be able to do this, and take a look at this. And if you take a look at day 6 max temps, which is next Saturday, you can see how high these temperatures are, especially for the beginning of March. I mean, down in Florida and Texas, you have 80s, 90s. In the middle of the country, you have widespread 70s. And in the northeast, all the way up into Pennsylvania, you have 60s to 70s. And you can see you kind of remain cold here in the west, around normal in the 30s to 50s. If you take a look at the ice threat for this upcoming winter storm, you see there's not really much of a threat. You could be dealing with a trace to 1/10 of an inch, and maybe some pockets of up to 1/4 of an inch, and maybe even up to 1/2 an inch. You can see it's painting 0.72. The models overdo it a little bit, I think, especially the GFS. So, and maybe in a small pocket up to 1/2 an inch, but that'll be very isolated. So majority of this will not be very impactful. If you take a look at the whole country, then you can see that there's not too much of a snow threat with this storm, and you continue to put this in motion, and you can see it paints a little bit of a line of snow from the middle of our country down to the east, and this is just 1 to 2 inches. Maybe you could get a pocket of 3 to 5, maybe in the Mid Atlantic into DC, into Baltimore, but realistically, I think it'll be more on the 1 to 3 range. The GFS, as you know, likes to overdo things, and then you keep this going, and you can see that it does stay pretty snowy here in the west, painting up to 20 inches into the mountainous regions and into areas of our country like that. If you guys like the weather, please hit the like button, and if you like this channel, please subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye.